Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have a very special guest, Sarah Booth, who is
Hello.
currently starring in Prime Video's new hit show, Three Pines, currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Sarah, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing fantastic. I even brought my own pine tree. That's
I love it. I love it. Three Pines, your character, Yvette, I think is the heart of the show, and we're going to get into it in a bit. But the show is based on a series of novels. Now, when you get into a role and it has source material, whether it be novels, a comic book, or whatnot, do you like to familiarize yourself with the source material, or do you like just going into it with a blank slate?
well, for me, it was a unique experience because when I got the audition breakdown, I realized after researching the books, I'd never heard of Louise Penny before. So as soon as I discovered the world of Three Pines, I realized that I was missing out on a lot after going down through that rabbit hole. And I realized there were 17 books. They're Canadian. I was like, wow, how haven't I not heard of these books? And I started to research my character and a little bit of the world and the tone. And I realized that the character they wanted me to audition for in the television series was going to be a little bit different than the character that's in the books. So in the book, she's a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more rude, I would say. And in the series, I would say it's represented more in an awkward eagerness, and just really wanting to be kind of part of the gang. So when I researched her and realized it's slightly different, I realized, okay, so they want a different spin on her. We can really, just be authentic with the interpretation and see if they respond to that. So I definitely took a lot of liberties with her, but also tried to keep a little bit of her essence where she does, disrupt the flow of
Mhm.
investigation.
Yvette is a fan favorite. She's a little bit of everything. A little bit of a smart ass. Very smart. What was it that you wanted really that was really important to you to inject into this character?
I think it took me maybe about a month before I really realized her essence.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I first auditioned for her, I really just threw spaghetti at the wall and I just had a lot of fun with her. And then once I started working with the producers and the directors, I realized that, there is an immense seriousness to her, which I think that's where the comedy comes from,
Yeah.
is that she's so serious about her job and so serious about, finding out what happened and she wants to impress people. So I think it really took me, I figured her out through a little bit of evolution.
Yeah, trial and
Um,
error.
yes, and it was so fun to be on a set where you feel safe to try different things, and if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work and someone tells you, that wasn't, I don't think that's where we want to go, you don't feel ashamed or,
Yeah,
whatever. I
absolutely.
think that's so important because we had to find that correct tone with all the characters. It's an offbeat show. So I think, yeah, like you said, that trial and error and just the permission to go there was so essential. And we definitely had that on the set.
Was the way that Yvette speaks, her dialect, part of that trial and error?
No, right away when I got the breakdown, it said would prefer an actor who can do a French Canadian accent.
Okay.
And I grew up an hour south of Montreal, which is very English French. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up with, you know, French Canadians all around me. I am a French Canadian, and my accent is my mom. So I grew up with it, my whole life, and it was really just easy to drop into. And I was very lucky too because our whole crew was Quebecois because we shot the series in and around Montreal. So I was able to just draw inspiration from the people around me. And also, sometimes in the script, it would have my line in English, and I would ask the director, oh, can I say the line in French? I think it would be, a little bit more what she would say. And they were like, absolutely. And I was able to, ask some crew members, like, how would you say this line in French? So it was just so fun to be around that and for that energy to just feed my character.
when we first meet Yvette, you know, they ask you, how did you end up here? And your character says, "Well, I was basically asked to come here to learn something from you, from Inspector Gamache." Do you like to build sort of a backstory for your characters? Why does Yvette have such a bad reputation within her own police department as sort of like a, I don't know, just an airhead cop, for lack of a better term?
Totally. And that's the thing. I feel like she gets mislabeled,
Mm-hmm.
where I think this is my interpretation. Of course, I don't know exactly what Alfred has in his mind, but my interpretation is that Alfred really does see some similarities between him and Agent Nicole.
Yeah, I agree.
Not the same, I would say, ways of solving a crime, because I feel he gets more into the why. He's much more about the psychology of why, I don't think he's just satisfied in figuring out like who did it. He needs to figure out like why they did it,
Yeah.
which is very cool. And I think my character is similar in the way that she enjoys figuring out cases in an unconventional way. That she won't go, A to B to C. She might go like A to Z to M to L, like,
Yeah.
but she'll figure it out,
Yeah.
So I think he really sees that potential in her. And I think the reason she has such a bad rap is because she hasn't had someone who is in a leadership position like Gamache, who has, like he says it, his superpower is empathy. So I think that he can see the potential in her, and he's not just taking care of her because she's a mess. He's taking care of her because he sees that special superpower in
I
her.
completely agree. He definitely sees something in her, and I think as the episodes progress, we have two more left in this season. I believe we're going to see more of that. Now, Three Pines gives us a murder mystery every couple of episodes, but
Mm-hmm.
there's back story with the involving the indigenous people
Yeah.
in Montreal. What are your thoughts on that bigger spotlight being put on the native people in Quebec and so on?
I am just so happy that not only is our series getting so many eyeballs, but I'm happy that our main storyline
Hmm.
is about missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirited peoples. I think it's so important because the amount of people that I have sat down and watched the show with that like had an idea of what was going on basically through like the headlines,
Yeah,
news headlines, but didn't have the information that we all should have had through, our school and our
yeah.
history. I feel like people are able to put an emotional story behind it,
Hmm.
and it's just opening so many people's hearts. And I think people are realizing the atrocities that went on in our country and that are still going on. Like these residential schools closed in 1996. That's not a long time ago. So I think it's very sobering for a lot of people, and I'm very proud that this is the main storyline of our first season. And if we get more seasons, because one of our main detectives is Indigenous, we know
Yeah.
that that storyline is going to keep going, many different forms. I don't know any storylines of the second season, but I assume, it's going to keep going that way. So I just feel like the response has been incredible, and the empathy from people that had some ignorance about this subject is growing, and I think that's just so important.
And I'm one of those people. I'll be honest. I was watching this show and I didn't know those schools where native indigenous children were taken away from their families, put in these Catholic Christian schools, and just treated so horribly. I'm like, I had to look it up to see if it was just part of the story for the show, if it had really happened. And I was just horrified to learn the truth behind it. Now, typical TV crime dramas either follow the format of a whole season or a single episode regarding a crime. Three Pines does something very differently. It's sort of two episodes where we get sort of a new crime injected into the story. What are your thoughts? I think I like it. I like this format. How do you feel about the format of this storytelling?
I think it's really refreshing because at first I wasn't sure if they were going to put all the episodes out at once. And I'm sure some people are holding back because they love to binge, which I totally
Yeah.
respect. Like I think there's just so many ways to, take in your media. And I think everyone has a way to do it. But I think the way that they're doing it with our show is really interesting because it's giving a lot of people options, right?
Hmm.
So I usually watch both episodes in one night when I'm at home, but I'm at with my parents this week in my hometown, and they like to watch one episode on Thursday night and one episode on Friday night. So that's
Oh.
what we did this week, and I just think it's great. Some people can sit down and watch pretty much like a feature film
Hmm.
at night if they want to. They can spread it out a little bit. They can hold off and binge. But I just think it's really fun because it brings a little bit of like that British style of television where you have a
Yeah.
murder of the week and it's all wrapped up. But it's giving us a little bit more than your standard 47
Exactly.
minute episode.
Exactly. Everything nice and
Yeah.
tidied up in 42 minutes. Now, one of the most admirable qualities of Yvette, in my opinion, is that she doesn't really care what the outside world thinks of her. She's going to do what she thinks is right. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I think she definitely has a side of her that is unaware in certain social aspects. Like maybe not unaware, but more in the way of like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, why are we worrying about all these social things? Like, let's just get to the job. So I feel like she definitely has some of that. She's definitely, I feel, doesn't soak up a lot of, you know, Jean-Guy obviously doesn't like her most of the
You
time and
guys
is giving
butt
those dirty
heads.
looks. Yeah, totally. And I think she clocks it for sure, but
Hmm.
she's just kind of like, oh, whatever. Like he'll get over it. Moving on. So I think she does have some awareness, but I just don't think it's that important to her. I describe her as having puppy energy, which
Yeah.
is, she's eager, she wants to be there. And one of my castmates, Anna, who plays Clara, just like hit it spot on the other day when she was talking about her. She said like she just sniffs out everything. She doesn't leave any stone unturned. It might not be like we said that each stone in order,
Yeah.
but she will sniff them all out and figure it out eventually. So I think that she does have that, youthful eagerness, but it's a little bit disorganized right now.
Exactly. And you mentioned Anna. Anna, who plays Clara, is going to be our guest next week, and
Oh, great. You're going to love her.
I'm looking forward to getting her perspective. Um, how do you view, if you were to take yourself outside your character, how do you view, as a fan, the relationship between the inspector and Yvette? I totally agree with you with what you said earlier. He sees a lot of potential in her. Is he more reserved? Is he unsure about that potential? I mean, is he unsure or does he know that she definitely has something there?
I definitely feel like he knows it's there. I think he would know right off the bat if she was, not
Yeah.
worth the time. I feel like he's been in this for so long. And I love the moment where him and Jean-Guy are talking and Jean-Guy is like, "Oh, come on, man. Like don't save the lame duck." And he turns to Jean-Guy and he's like, "You forget. You once too were my lame duck."
Yeah.
And I think people forget that a lot of the time, that we started and we grow throughout our careers. Like I can't even imagine looking at my first audition. It's probably, well, actually I know it was terrible because the casting director that cast me in this show was actually the casting director that I did my very first audition with.
Wow.
And she told me, and thank gosh she told me, they were like, "Look, your audition was great, but like you got to take camera classes," because I was trained in theater. So, for me, everything was a little bit bigger. And, I just wasn't trained in the medium as much. So I like Gamache, they saw some potential. They gave me some notes.
Abs-
And thank goodness they gave me the time of day, right?
Absolutely. And one of my favorite exchanges is when the first murder is solved and you call the person a psycho, and Gamache
Mhm.
looks at you and says, show some compassion. It's free to give. That line by Alfred, I think, is amazing. What do you think
Yeah.
about that exchange between Yvette and Gamache?
I thought it's wonderful because I feel like, and there's like another moment where we're in the basement where Elmaya Tailfeather's character
Yeah.
Lacoste sees the engravements, and I'm like, what does it say? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, aren't you,
Yeah.
you know? So I feel like, we're able to use a lot of like these kind of ignorant moments to highlight, sometimes what the general public just assumes, like,
Yeah.
I mean, someone watching the news and seeing a headline of this girl electrifying her mother in a lawn chair in front of an entire town, you would be like, that girl's a
A
psycho.
psycho.
But because, he gets to know her and he knows why she did it. And oh, there's just like so many layers to the story
Hmm.
that he's able to be like, you know what, she's not, she was tortured, she has a lot of psychological issues. So I think being able to open that door and see it from that different perspective is really important.
Absolutely. Now, in this latest murder mystery, when you show up at the scene,
Hmm.
the three are surprised to see you there. Do you think Yvette feels a connection with the other three and she feels a part of a team?
At first, I think she's just a little bit of a opportunist, how do you say that? um
Opportunistic.
Thank you. I blame it on French, but it's opportunistic. She hears, oh, there's murder here. Inspector Gamache is on his way. I'm so close. Like, oh, I'll go. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go start investigating people, and this is great. Like, it's a great opportunity. She probably called her boss. Said, "Is it cool? Like, I know it's Christmas, but I'm close, so I'm down to go. So if you need me, I'm available." And he was probably like, "Oh yeah, we'll send her. That'll be great." So I think it was just, like the perfect storm of a lot of things happening. And when she first gets there, she kind of gives them the lowdown and they're like, great, you can go home. We don't need you anymore. But I think she uses probably like a like 3 second little tidbit from her boss that he was like, yeah, just, stay on it as long as you want. That she turned into this. No, no, no. I'm supposed to be trained by you. I'm supposed to be trained. You know what I mean? Like, I
You're
feel
stuck
like
with me.
just, she's turned this little inch into a mile, probably.
And then we get this impression of Yvette, and then we see her come up with these brilliant finds in regards to like with the cell phone, and you're finding those pictures, and all
Yes.
these little like Easter eggs are dropped in on how really smart the character is and how multi-layered. That I really hope, whether it's this season or the subsequent season, we get to explore more of Yvette and her background. What do you think though about those little Easter eggs, like the whole cell phone finding the picture and helping the team, really being a part of the team to help solve this murder mystery?
I think she just helps them with like little details that maybe, they're too busy to take care of, or doing the media aspect. I think she's really strong with that side of her job, just like the cell phones, again, the technology
Yeah,
part of the job. I think she has a lot that she can add to the team, and maybe they just don't see it yet because let's be honest, when you've been doing a job for a while, you sometimes get a little complacent and you're just
exactly.
like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I really think, again, like her unconventional ways can really help the team out,
Absolutely.
especially. I feel like she'll surprise Beauvoir a
Me
lot
too.
because he seems a little more like factual. Gamache has that more, psychological aspect, of approaching the cases. And I think, maybe Yvette will just have, I don't know, I think it's just really pulling out random stuff from her mind and questions
And I'm
and
really
just random instincts that she has to
exactly.
be like, I'm going to go check this. So
I'm really personally looking forward to the evolution of Yvette. Sarah, I want to thank you so much. The show is brilliant. Congratulations on the success of
thank
Three
you.
Pines. For our audience out there, Three Pines is now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. New episodes drop every Friday. Currently, 6 episodes are available. Total of 8 episodes in season one. Check it out. This is a great drama, crime, murder, mystery, story, human aspect layered into it. It's a great show. It touches on a little bit of everything. Sarah, do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we go tonight?
I just want to express my gratitude that I thought we had something special with the show, but now that there's so many people watching it and just soaking it up, and so many new people
Yeah.
that are discovering the world of Three Pines. I think it's just so special, and I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, and tell all your friends and keep watching, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for season two.
I'd be surprised if there isn't a season two.
Me too.
Again, thank you to our audience, those of you who are tuning in live and those who will be watching later on. Again, our guest tonight was Sarah Booth, Three Pines. Check it out on Prime Video. On behalf of Sarah and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Good night, everybody.